start with our another session, which is on succeeding in change management, managing technological change for School of New Millennium. So for this, the key talking points are: why and how should administrators promote technology? What do you need to know about technology planning? Top tips for successful change management. And for same, we have our moderator, Mr. Arijit Ghosh, who's the head school program, British Council. So can we have Mr. Ajit Ghosh on stage, please? A huge round of applause for sir, please. Then we have Mr. Rajeev Gupta, who's the director for Golden Bells Preschool. Mr. Rajeev Gupta? I would request my team to please call Mr. Rajeev Gupta in the hall as we are starting his session. Mr. Arunabh Singh, Director, Nehru World School. Mr. Arunabh Singh, I'm sure he's here. Yeah, he's here. A huge round of applause for sir, please. Mr. S.P. Aggarwal, Chairperson Advisory, Presidium and Mother's Pride. Mr. S.P. Aggarwal. All right, sure. Ms. Anamika Anjaria, Managing Director, Rangoli Group of Institutes. Welcome, ma'am. A huge round of applause. Our rest of two speakers must be joining in between, so I will suggest Mr. Arijit Ghosh to start the panel discussion and they'll join in. Can we have 5 mics on the stage, few mics on stage, and rest on the round tables for the after session discussion? And sir, we'll also try to have one-on-one with the audience as well at the end of the discussion.
Good morning, everyone. The panel discussion, as it was just announced, the topic of the panel discussion, I'll repeat: succeeding in change management, managing technological change for schools of the new millennium. I just walked in the last phase of the previous session, and I was really interested in some of the comments that is technology going to replace the teachers? Are we as teachers going to be changed into zombies? So these were some of the comments which were raised from the audience, and I think we will try to dig a little deeper into the reality, into the changing role of the teacher for a future school. And I really like the last bit of the activity, summing up a future school in 6 words. Thank you, Revati ma'am, for that. Now, as we wait for the other 2 panel members to join, let's set the context a bit for this particular topic and try to think, reflect why this topic is important today at all. So I'm just going to quote a couple of research papers. In the 2014 report on the future of education by Sir Michael Barber, a very prominent educationist based out of US, he says that the prominent, it's about being the data being ubiquitous, the data being omnipresent. It's not restricted into the confines of the library any longer. So with a click of a mouse or even faster than that, the data is available to you. It also talks about totally transformed classrooms of the future school. And he talks about that the term classroom will soon become obsolete, and a better futuristic term will be learning spaces. So learning spaces meaning more open spaces, having the latest, equipped with the latest technology, being flexible. So this is what Sir Michael Barber talks about. Another equally famous educationist, John Hattie, tries to define the terminology of a teacher. Earlier it was a teacher who used to just transmit knowledge. Now still it's in the phase, in the current situation, that we term teacher as a facilitator. John Hattie says that in near future, the teacher will not be a mere facilitator as well, but he uses the term of an activator. So what's the role of an activator? Someone who will inject ambition, provoke thought, ask great question, challenge mediocrity, and bring passion and insight to the task in hand. So basically preparing students for life. Again, in that last segment, many of you had said that the future school should be a happy place, should prepare students for life, to be future ready. So with all these thoughts being quoted in basically one after the other in the same time, so obviously the role of the teacher is heading for a marked change as it was possibly 10 years or even 5 years back. And it has already started to change with the advent of technology. So in the next hour, what we are trying to do is we would try to get some answers from the extreme panelists, though it's still two in the present situation, that how should administrators promote technology? What do you need to know about technology planning? And some top tips for successful change management. Before I begin, I would just like to take a stock of the audience strata present in this particular room. If I may request to raise your hand, those who are school owners or school heads or from the school management. Okay, hands down please. Teachers. Okay, yeah, I have just segregated that to school management and teachers. Education service providers. Okay, and any policymakers in the room. Okay, so I think we have roughly all categories what we were looking at. So I would like to start with Anamika ma'am, that what according to you are the top things to keep in mind while planning to introduce a new technology?
Normally what happens in the school is, what we are aware that nowadays with Google, if students have to do any of the project, what teachers tell them that this is the project, you have to start the things, and what students will start? They'll start Googling, is something is there on Google or not? Are we going to get the ready-made projects from it, and then we'll just take the printout and give it to the teachers? So actually students are not aware about that what is to be searched, how it's to be searched, and how it has to be presented in front of the teachers and what is expected. Sometimes what is happening in the school with the technology also, lots of technology providers are there in the market. Rightly he has said that how many technology providers are there in the hall. So lots of people come in to sell the technologies and all these things, and sometimes school management takes up something, give it to the teachers, that somebody said the trial and error, start using it. As a school management, the one important thing is very clear-cut instruction to the people that how it has to be utilized, how much it has to be utilized. Because technology is something which is daily changing. Some or the another thing daily come up with something new. And teachers are sometimes confused. Because lots of things are there in the smart class, lots of things are there in the tab classes, now the concept of the flip card, so many things. When the teacher is sitting to write a lesson plan or to plan the curriculum, how much to take? Till how long? So as a school management, one clear-cut vision to the teachers and clear instructions to the heads of the school management that how it has to be carried in the school and how much. Because if you just take the example of the simple smart class of Educom or any of the smart class, lots of things are there. If the teacher want to teach one concept, then also lots of activities, lots of things. How much time to be consumed in the classroom? And as we are aware that different category of learners. So very clear instructions to the people who are teaching And that is the most important thing, according to me.
Thank you. Some really good insights over here. She talks about time, how much time to be given, and teacher development, teacher training. She talks about as well, and also very pertinent that, as I also mentioned from the words of Michael Barber, that data is ubiquitous. So you need to know to filter out the information what is required. Now, we are aware that the medium of the technology, where this particular technology will be put in, are varied. Some schools, for some cases, prefer tablets. Some schools prefer laptops. And with a lot of development happening in the education world, in the technological world, in the space of hardware. So my question to you, Mr. Singh, is what is your take on being a laptop versus a tablet? What would you prefer for which kind of use of software and why?
It's interesting that you asked this question. For all of us, and I would not say all of us, but at least some of us, we were already out of school when computers first arrived. I remember the school I went to was ahead of the curve, and they did have 486 in the school. And we used to take off the shoes outside and then go in, and then you press a key and then you sit back. You're not supposed to put your hand on the keyboard. You're supposed to sit back. And we've moved from there to a time where we are needing to stop children to carry their own portable computers in their pockets. And sometimes they're so tiny that it is tough to actually sort of stop them. And we as schools have actually come to, I don't know how many of us would agree with us here, but we're standing on a cliff. A lot of us are currently denying that experience to the child to carry their own computer. And we know that the eventuality is that we'll jump off that cliff and we will need to make that allowance. It is going to happen, it is right in our face, and some of us are denying it because we don't know how to tackle that. The challenges that it will bring, so we just, don't give it to me right now, okay? It's not my lowest hanging. RTE is my lowest hanging, Government of Delhi is my lowest hanging. I'm going to tackle that later. But coming back to your question of tab versus laptop, we had that predicament in our school. We went for the slightly more expensive laptops. And the simple reason was laptops are still more creation machines. Still, it is easier to code on a laptop, it is easier to design on a laptop, it is easier to word process on a laptop. While tablets, they are growing faster than anything else, and their computing abilities are getting faster. Eventually, there has to be a sort of a hybrid product that has to come in the market. Microsoft Surface is one such example where they're trying to make that bridge. But for us, primarily, because laptops could create more, we went.
I can say it from personal experience because one of my grandchildren is studying in Mother's Pride, and with my other grandchildren studying in US and in Bangalore in the best of schools, I find that with more digitization and digital learning, this grandchild is able to grow up much faster and to the better satisfaction of the parents.
Thank you very much for that. Coming back to Anamika ma'am, with your experience with the Rangoli group of institutions, what are the challenges have you faced while integrating or implementing a new technology in your school from the parents or from the teachers who are kind of, some of them possibly would have been repulsive in adopting to that technology?
In Rangoli, we are running two K-12 schools, one in Gandhinagar and one in Mehsana. We are having preschools also across Gujarat, and we are having 60 preschools in Gujarat also. The biggest challenge while adapting the technology by teachers is not that much, because teachers are always more or less ready to adapt new technology, because nowadays in the school most of the teachers are coming in the young generation. They are very much aware with the technology, and they know that yes, at the end this 21st century students need a technology based learning, and until and unless we'll not make our classroom interesting with the technology, students are at the end not going to pay the attention, and the teaching learning process will not be interesting. So as far as the teachers are concerned, very frankly, I'm not facing any of the challenge. Challenge comes in front of the parents while we are using the technology. In school, we are using a technological app, that is the Flint, to interact with the parents. School is a huge unit. Sometimes some problems do arise, and as a management, we do agree that all these things, and nowadays parents are also becoming fussy parents. So some small things also, they are coming up. As much as you interact more with the parents, they need that 100% what is happening in English class, how the teacher has behaved in the English class with my child and with the another child. Each and everything should come in the notice of the parent. And that is why sometimes the liberty of the teacher is affected. That is the most important thing. And yes, agreed, the technology should reach to the parents, and in the teaching learning process, parents have all the rights to know what the school is doing for the development of the child. But sometimes I feel that lots of interference from the parents' side, sometimes hampering the school for doing what school wants to do. Because at the end, we all are aware that all are not coming from the same social cultural background. School is running with their own philosophy, and in Rangoli we believe that moral values and the life skill teaching is the most important things. Because sometimes I tell my English teacher also that if you could not able to complete the whole syllabus, it's fine, not a problem. But the important thing is what you want to carry out in your classroom is the ethics, moral values, and at the end for English, the listening and the speaking ability which we want to develop in our children, that is the utmost priority. So sometimes too much of involvement of the parents because of the technological things is a challenge for me. And I'm quite open if somebody would help me in meeting up those challenges.
Sir, Mr. Rajeev Gupta, Director, Golden Bells Preschool is here. So a round of applause for sir, please. And we'll continue the session.
Sorry for the delay, huge rain, traffic jams. Just like to continue. Just read the pointers and the key points. What kind of change we are looking for as per sir technology? My major question to all the teachers, the parents, the students, the administrators is, I being an administrator, I being a teacher, I being a parent, I being the one who's willing to do the change, are we ready for the change? This is the first thing. Are we really ready? Yeah, we have, yes, we have options for everything. We have India, we have Bharat, and we have Hindustan. When we sit on the director's chair in the school, in the organization, we wish to impart the latest technological changes to the students and the parents. At the same time, the parents are willing to adapt the changes during the school hours. But being a counselor also, I get around 100 parents every month. Sir, मेरे बच्चे का मोबाइल छुड़वा दीजिए. So there is a dilemma between the parents to give or not to give. We are looking for everything which is best possible from the school side to convince the parents, to enroll the parents for getting into the latest technological advancements which are happening in India. As we read about Google and Khan Academy, the thing
Mr.
is,
Gupta,
yeah.
Mr. Gupta, sorry to interrupt. I think if we get into a little bit specifics, because I was really impressed by seeing some of the profiles about your school and yourself in particular. I think the audience will be really interested to, if you can talk about the multiple intelligence based brain mapping program which you have done.
Thank you.
And especially when you have started this, when you initiated this, what were the challenges from the parents? So the change management aspect, if you can throw light on
Sure.
that.
Thank you very much. Multiple intelligence is my passion, my blood. 4 years ago, I brought this concept into India. The first reaction from the parents was, are you a Jochi? Are you an astrologer? Are you a Baba? When they brought their children to me, हमने बोला था ना बाबा के पास लेके नहीं जा रहे. The mindset of the parents is कि अभी से क्या करना है बच्चे की इंटेलिजेंस जान के. जब 10th में आएगा 12th में आएगा देख लेंगे क्या कराना है. When I start, can I take the podium if you don't mind? When I started this concept, I interviewed around 10,000 parents across globally India. 90% of the parents had two plans for their kids. कि आपके बच्चे 10th के बाद क्या करना चाहते हैं? This is a major question which every one of us across the table face every day. And 90% of the parents had two options. You will be surprised to know, and we are talking about India, Delhi, NCR, Gurgaon, Noida, Faridabad, top high schools of India. मेरा बच्चा वो करेगा जो मैं कर रहा हूँ. Plan 1. If I am a doctor, my child will become a doctor. If I am this, and my child will become this. And plan 2 was, मेरा बच्चा वो करेगा जो मैं नहीं बन पाया. दोनों केस में बच्चा कहाँ है? Nowhere. Who cares about the child? The biggest challenge was the change I wanted. Are parents ready to accept what the child needs? They are helicopter parents. They are giving everything the child wants. But really do they know what the child wants? This multiple intelligence, as it's a Nobel Prize winning concept, I have done around 10,000 counselings till date in the last 4 years, traveled across the globe. Children live 3 parallel lives. One with the parents, one with their friends, and one within themselves. And that is the most dangerous thing which nobody knows and nobody wants to know. I will share few examples. A girl who has just joined 11th class in a very top school of Delhi goes to school every day and cries every day. Uncle, आपने बोल तो दिया कि मैं कॉमर्स के लिए बनी हूँ, पर मेरी मम्मी डॉक्टर हैं, वो कहती हैं अगर तूने साइंस नहीं ली तो ये होगा. मेरे फादर बोलते हैं कि अगर तूने इंजीनियरिंग नहीं ली तो ये होगा. This is India, Delhi, top school of India. Where should the child go? The child will complete class 11th and 12th. Will she live? She will not live. She will exist. And that is when she comes after 12th class. What will happen to the child? She will go to some college in Delhi. And then what will happen? This is the irony. We have different parameters for judging a child. Every one of us knows, a commerce child wants to get admission to Sri Ram College or Venkateshwar College, and majority, 90% of seats are taken by children who are from a different board. When we have a different boards for defining the parameters of a child, how can we have a uniform system of education into India? My father being secretary CBSE, he retired in 2011, and CBSE and NCERT is in my blood. The thing is, Delhi का बच्चा, यूपी का बच्चा, महाराष्ट्र का बच्चा, मद्रास का बच्चा, पेपर तो सब अलग अलग देते हैं. श्री राम कॉलेज तो नंबर्स पे एडमिशन देता है. तो फिर कहाँ इक्वालिटी है? When there is no equality in education, how are we ready to adapt technology? The major challenge is the parents, the education minister of all the states, the education minister of India. Let's see what he does. We should have a single board, a single examination, and a single judgment for measuring all the children. Then only we should talk about whatever we are talking on this platform. What will happen is we will talk, we will clap, and then we will go. The thing is, every year I come here, every year I say, let's change the way India teaches. The irony is, India does not teach. India is just finishing the curriculum. Why do we need to have tuitions after schools? Why? If a teacher is teaching 40 children in a class, why cannot the teacher teach in the way the child wants to be taught? There are 3 ways of learning: auditory, kinesthetic, and visual. Why does not a teacher who is so well versed with her theory, with her internet, with her Google, with her Khan Academy, cannot deliver the way the child wants to learn? Why do we need tuitions? Why do we need education centers? 8 hours of a school, 365 days in a year. Why? Is the child born only for going into books? Do not we have sports and music and arts and academies? Why do we only focus on पढ़ लो पढ़ लो पढ़ लो पढ़ लो पढ़ लो? क्यों भैया क्यों पढ़ लें? क्या डांस पढ़ना नहीं होता? क्या म्यूजिक पढ़ना नहीं होता? क्या आर्ट पढ़ना नहीं होता है? तो मेरी मल्टीपल इंटेलिजेंस थ्योरी ये बोलती है कि पहले आप जो टीचर है, जिसको हमने टीचर बनाया है, I run a school. I run 5 schools in Delhi, and most of the girls who come to me for interviews, they have done NTT and B.Ed from correspondence. This is the state of education of India.
Mr. Gupta,
Yeah.
thank you for that extended monologue. I think what we are trying to focus over here is, if you can please take your seat. What we are trying to focus over here is the topic of the panel discussion. I think we have digressed to a much wider level of the quality of education which India is providing. So I'll request all the panel members to stick to the topic which the organizers have given us. So with the technology advancement for the future school. So in that, one really important point which came out of Mr. Gupta's monologue was basically how equipped the teacher is and what the teacher, the future teacher, should do with the change of technology at hand. Now, I am really interested in seeing a Google Cardboard kept over here. If I may ask Mr. Singh, that with possibly the virtual reality being the next big thing, the world of augmented reality, what according to you should be the nature of competencies a teacher should have to address such impactful changes? Should just a mentoring and guidance by an expert, will that be sufficient, or you see something else into that as well? Mr. Singh.
Thank you for that. Before I talk about Google Cardboard, I'd say I don't represent an education company. I do not sell this device, and I will make no money whatsoever if somebody were to use it. And before I go there, I'm sure most of the school heads or entrepreneurs who are here related to education have already tried the interactive board assimilation into their schools. You put the board there and you try to replace the chalkboard with the interactive board, and the interactive surface now becomes the projection device. And then the next leg of development starts, where you are actually hoping that the teacher would get equipped enough so that they are actually starting to use it as an interactive device, not just as a projection device. While whichever company you bought these devices from would have done some basic trainings, and they would also promise you a 6-month refresher, my personal experience says that it doesn't work. It doesn't work for a few reasons. One, the teacher who's expected to take that technology into the classroom was not a digital native, was a digital migrant, and at that point in time, that teacher is in focus. There are these 40 students who sometimes understand that technology better than she does, and she's supposed to still hold the cup for I'm an expert in doing this. So she's already so nervous with the fact that this VGA cable is not working and the display is not working fine, that it is going to take a while before she can become an expert there. We've tried to do a few things. We've tried to make support groups within teachers. B, like schools have monitors, we've also made these technology assistants in the class that also switch. So as the teacher comes in, these technology assistants would come up and actually set up teacher's machine. They're excited in doing so, while the teacher is now freeing up those 5-7 minutes in doing sometimes recaps, or she's now much more comfortable because she knows if the technology is not working, she's not directly being blamed for that. So the last 10 years have possibly gone by in trying to integrate these interactive surfaces. And just around the time when we were starting to get comfortable with these devices, in comes virtual reality or augmented reality. Earlier you had talked about Pokemon Go. So Pokemon Go is augmented reality, where something else is being placed in the environment. And some people who might have seen, how many of us actually have Pokemon Go installed on their phones right now? 1, 2, 3, 4. I tried to install it. It's not available on my app store just yet. So that's augmented reality. And virtual reality is devices like these. They're available for sale, I think from 99 rupees onwards on your Snapdeal, Flipkart, Amazon, most of these things. And what you need inside is a mobile phone, which all of you, I'm assuming, already have. Some people have more than one as well. So you put your mobile phone. So the delivery model is already there. And you're just adding 100 rupees to 1,000 rupees of a device, depending on how fancy you want it to be. And what I'm going to do is, very quickly, if time allows, Anamika, have you experienced one of these? Okay. So we'll do a live demo of what it really is. I'll just quickly set it up in 10 seconds and ask her what she sees. Okay. Take this and I'll stop you on the journey as well. Okay. And that's your mic. So you put it on your eyes, you move your head around, and there are the
It's a galaxy with the sun. Sun is coming inside. Okay, yes. Then Mercury.
So basically she has reached Mercury as well.
And then all the details about the Mercury, the dimension and the distance from the sun and all these things are written. And if I'll move right inside, then also the whole lots of planets.
Can you see any of the participants in front of you?
No.
No. So you are in a totally different world.
Yes.
Is it like a planetarium?
Yes, yes, exactly.
Is it the clearest planetarium you've ever been in?
Yes.
Very
clear.
And it
with
is
all the details and everything.
Thank you. Thank you. We come back. You can have a...
So
yeah.
one important thing over here, taking from what Mr. Singh said just before getting into the cardboard, was a very important skill of collaboration, which would help the teachers overcome that first barrier of fear while embracing a new change in terms of the technology. So that is one. Coming to the second part over here is, if you can just very quickly answer the question which I had posed, that the nature of competencies which you think a teacher must have to embrace such impactful changes.
I think that the question is more on school culture, where if we can allow the teachers to go wrong.
Extremely important point.
Just ask them to make new mistakes. Figure out the previous mistake, ask them to make a new mistake and learn from each other's mistake, which is easier said than done. None of us here is fully equipped to handle this change. That child who's with us in the primary, sir talked about pre-primary, that child is there with us for 2 decades. In 2 decades, it's mind-boggling the kind of change we're expecting. So can I equip, in any teacher training degree, can I equip the teacher with all the skills she would need for the next 5 years? Answer to that is no. I can possibly give her an attitude to just be okay in making mistakes and say, sorry, I went wrong, I'll fix it.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Now, I'm aware that I've been told to finish 10 minutes early. So I will have some time for question answers, exactly 10 minutes. So I open the floor for questions. If you have any burning questions, if you can direct it to one of the panel members. But I'll give you 2 minutes to think of that question, and within that 2 minutes, I'm so influenced, I would say, by Revati ma'am, the closure of the last session. I would do the same exercise with you all. I'll modify it. I won't, because then it will be, no, it will still be, I'll be pulled up for plagiarism over here. So I'm not going to do that. What I'm going to request each one of you, just to talk about using just a word or a very short phrase, one big technological change you foresee in the school education system, let's say by 2030. Mr. Gupta.
I vote for Swadhyaan. Swadhyaan, self-learning.
Self-learning.
This is my motto, and very shortly we'll be launching this concept. I call education as concept, not product. I will be launching Swadhyaan for the Indian students, teacher, Indian fraternity shortly post Diwali and during Christmas time. The child needs to learn himself.
Fantastic. So we need to all be up with Mr. Gupta on his website to learn more about it. Anamika ma'am.
Just like to share, and I'm Dr. Gupta.
Dr. Gupta, yeah.
Personalized learning.
Personalized learning, okay?
Can I say 2 sentences?
One.
There was a question, will technology replace teachers?
Not at all. We all are more or less aware that it's not possible at all.
No, it is
100% possibility is not
So
there.
there is possibility. If the teacher continues to do monologues and deliver one
Steps.
way, there is already technology that will
Then she
replace
is
that.
not teacher.
So, ma'am, let's be realistic. Our own experiences.
Okay, I think Mr. Singh, just answer the question.
Virtual.
Biggest
I think
technological change.
Virtual reality and augmented reality are the future.
Okay. Yeah, so he said about augmented reality, virtual reality. Okay? Yes, Mr. Aggarwal.
I think it would be personalized learning through interactive portals so that you're able to use technology and not only one-way monologue but also interactive so that whatever issues you have could be resolved without reference to a third party.
Fantastic. So I think we did a complete circle because I started off by quoting Sir Michael Barber talking about more open spaces, learning spaces and personalized learning, and it did come out from the end quotes of the panel members as well. Now question time please. Yes.
Impact learning in a big manner. I would want to know what are some of the practical safeguards that you have put into your school to ensure that these spaces are safe spaces, not just for students, but for teachers, faculty, and parents as well.
So thank you for that question. I'll repeat the question. So ma'am said that agreed that if virtual reality and augmented reality are the future, how do we still ensure safety of our children? And for a lot of us here, providing safety on the internet currently is costing us more than the internet is costing us. And there is Google safe search that is already there. There is YouTube for schools that is already there. So a lot of big technology giants are already working towards that. But would we ever be able to make digital world an absolutely safe world? I think answer to that is the same as we've been able to do in the real world. But there are ways already in which you can set parameters on these devices, and I saw there was a company here, I don't remember their name, Huawei, I think, were exhibiting a platform that as soon as the device comes into that environment, there are only some things that the device can access now. And I think that is possibly the start of that answer. But it is an evolving field and it has to take some time.
Thank you. Next question, yes. Rajeev.
How early do you begin?
How early do we begin doing this? So the screen time for a child below 5 years shouldn't be over 30 minutes. That is what doctors say. So I would want to stay there for at least for right now. Though I do realize being father to 2 little ones and having 4 children in the house is very difficult to stick to 30 minutes of screen time a day. But how early do we begin also depends on how, what kind of content are we showing and what kind of screens are being used. The screens that are currently being used, especially say the retina displays and stuff, is actually a step in that direction where the eyes are not impacted that much. And even the speed at which content moves. So specific answer, it would need to depend on the content. And we need to make sure that relevant content only goes to children, which is currently not the case. Yeah.
Thank you.
Mr.
Somebody
Singh.
from the other table, I'm sorry. Somebody from the other table, yes.
Should I change my table?
I'll come back to you. I'll come back to you.
My question is to Madam from Rangoli. She was mentioning that they want to teach children values and life skills, but parents are creating certain problems over there. So, have to we neglect the parents? I teach in a school where parents do not come for PTM at all. I come from rural background in a village at Udaipur with 750 students, and teachers in government schools are in short supplies. So there we are going to contact children. Government has initiated a lot of programs, and still parents are not coming. And they think that teachers is deciding their best. The school curriculum is there, just like that. So have you communicated to the parents about your syllabus, your curriculum you are going to teach?
Thank you
Yes,
very much.
sir.
I will slightly rephrase that question and give it a slightly bigger horizon. That what do you think a technology-enabled school, let's say in what manner, can touch more and more lives? So possibly a possible cue lead into the answer even. What about mobile technology? What is your take on that?
Wonderful. Mobile technology and to reach to each and every parent and all the community stakeholders of the school is wonderful. But at the end, the thing is that everybody should be very aware about how much to utilize and in which manner it needs to be utilized. That's it.
Perfect. As promised, the last question I'll come to you.
We are talking about digital learning. I am sure all of us have heard of Facebook addiction, etc. Again, education jumping into this virtual reality. Having these apps, mobiles, these gadgets in their hand. What about the mental health of the child?
Are you directing it to anyone or anyone can take it?
Mr. Singh, sorry.
Okay.
So moderation is a virtue. And it's not just Facebook addiction. I think it's any kind of addiction that has the same kind of impact. And we are talking about mobile phones and what we can do with them, because mobile phones are already an epidemic. However, if we can use this in the right manner, it is actually, in a current scenario, easier to get a mobile phone across or a device like this across to that child in a far-flung area. We also need to be mindful about the fact that with the Reliance Jio coming in, the internet rates are expected to slash to a 10% of what they currently are, and access is going to improve. So for me, to get that phenomenal teacher to a Bagpat or to an Amroha or to a Gaya or several other towns, to replicate that teacher might be slightly more difficult than for me to engage these students, equip them, and make them learners. These terminologies that came about, personalized learning, self-paced learning, these are the only possibilities, because we know how many quality teachers we currently have and what we are doing at a policy level to make new teachers. If we can make platforms that make kids safe, and there is lovely work that is happening. For example, these fingerprint scanners that currently are on these machines. There are already startups that are talking about that we would look at what fingerprint has switched on the device, and as a result, only what kind of content will be thrown to the child. Because the field is so emerging, fast moving, we don't have all the answers. We would never have all the answers, but increasingly I think we will have those answers. So addiction is something that can happen at any time, and parents' role comes in.
Thank you. I'm sorry we don't have any more time for taking questions. I would just like to finish off this session with just a sentence of a fact. In India, we currently have more than 230 million internet users, out of which 94% of them access internet through their handheld devices. And more astonishing fact is this data, this number is increasing on a year-on-year rate of 49%. So it's a staggering data. Thank you very much, the panel members.
Can I just
Thank
sum
you,
up?
the audience.
छोटा सा एक शेर बोलना चाहूँगा, टेक्नोलॉजी हो या एजुकेशन हो, हम भाग तो रहे हैं अंग्रेजी शिक्षा की तरफ, लेकिन उस शिक्षा का फायदा क्या जब हम जलेबी और पकोड़े को इंग्लिश में बोल नहीं पाते.
Thank you so much, sir. So, technology is there. Why we only focus on kids to be a learner, where the learning should start from home. So, not only the administrator, we need learning from, people to understand, their parents to understand the importance of technology and why we have this new generation technology in schooling for their betterment of their kids. So, I will request Mr. Hemant Seth, who is the president to Elets Technomedia Private Limited, to please come on stage and felicitate our eminent panelists by presenting a memento. A huge round of applause for Mr. Ajit Ghosh for being such a good moderator and summing